Schnabel is a kind of key figure. In the 80s, everyone recognized him. And many young artists, they are still influenced by him.
Julian only feels good when he's active. He needs to do things, he needs to create things.
Julian è un artista che rifiuta di avere uno stile. È un lavoro di accumulo di segni, di materiali, di tecniche ed è un lavoro molto stratificato e complesso, così come stratificata, complessa e piena di memorie è questa città.
Buongiorno. When I arrived here, I said, what's going on in Naples? And the driver, he said to me, yes, there's a Caravaggio exhibition, Hearst, and some American is having a show here. I said, I'm the American.
I believe he's supposed to come here today. This afternoon he would probably arrive. I think he's en route from Paris at the moment.
I mean, I'm very happy that this painting's from Naples. I love Italy. And I mean, I think my favorite painters were always Italian painters.
They started in Frankfurt in late January, then they went to Madrid in June, and now they're here in the beginning of November.
I've been painting for more than 30 years, but I guess there's a whole generation of people, maybe two even, that might know my name, but might not have seen paintings of mine in the flesh.
Many people didn't really know his work. It was more like a myth. It was well known from seeing it in books or hearing about, but there are very few works in Europe really exhibited, so you are not really close to the original, but the myth is very strong.
Wow, it's going to be very intense in here.
There are paintings in this show from 1977, 78 until 2003. But obviously, I made more than 50 paintings in that course of time, but we've tried to make a selection of paintings that would be representative of what I've been doing or what my interests were as a painter.
This here is Paco, and this is Federico, two very good guys.
Pero Paco, italiano o español? Pasquale. Pasquale.
Okay.
So really, if we move Mimi.
Werner has worked with me for a long time, and he is very competent, and he's put these pictures up and down.
I've been doing this job for about 11 years now.
I had to insist on sending him here. Many people say we have our own technicians or something like that, but it helps all the other people if someone really knows the work. You don't want accidents, you don't want people getting hurt, and you don't want the work to get hurt.
It's very labor intensive because every time we take the show down or put it back up, all of these paintings have to be taken off the stretcher, rolled onto tubes, and then packed in crates and then shipped to the next venue where we have to do it all over again.
This is the first art exhibition they've had in this space. And Antonio Bassolino, the president of the region, and Eduardo Cicciolin have organized this as part of a program of international exhibitions that they've had over the past couple of years.
I think it's little in this big space. Ho visto il lavoro di Julian all'inizio, 1980 credo, ad aperto la Biennale di Venezia dell'80. E insomma è stata un'esperienza, diciamo, che non si dimentica, anche perché era diciamo, piuttosto singolare incontrare un artista americano che si esprimesse con il linguaggio, le tecniche di un artista europeo.
So we might have to hang everything higher.
Yeah.
That's good. Much better. I had seen the show in 2 different versions in 2 different venues, and I kind of wanted to change it a bit. Yeah. You can move it even more. Maybe this is nice in here, and this one goes out there.
I don't know anyone who really personifies that kind of creative grit and expansion and big involvement than as Julian.
I think that this show is, as it's coming together, is going to be very. I'm going to be very satisfied with the way that it looks. How are you?
Bene, piacere di vederti.
Good to see you. Mi figlia, Stella?
Bene, tu? Bene, grazie.
I made quite a few paintings of her. The experience probably changed over the years, no?
Well, I think just getting older and sitting in front of you, and then, you know, depends how I'm feeling. I can get in a bad mood sometimes, and he can definitely get that out in the picture. Like he was painting my sister and I had to pose with her for a really long time, and it was really bothering me. So
It's only really a couple of hours, but that's a long time to her.
Well, no, it's pretty quick. I mean, he does it pretty quickly.
There was one time I painted her in a riding crop with a riding crop and a
riding hat and my jodhpurs and a
was,
whip.
She was pretty pissed off at that time, and I said I was going to pay her if she stood still, which I think made her even more angry. But she did stay still.
That's probably my favorite.
It's funny because she looks really angry in the picture. Like, if she could hit me with the riding crop, she would have.
Allora Edoardo, che facciamo?
Si è aperto lì.
Napoli?
Sì. Let's eat.
Yes, and the chewiest and not like too mushy inside.
Are you going to come to the exhibition in Naples? Would you like to come?
Julian encompasses everything. He's a painter, he's a filmmaker. I was fortunate enough to be along with him through his quest for Basquiat, and then later Before Night Falls.
You know, I think that the hardcore art world was a little caught off guard by a famous artist now saying, now I can make a movie. But I think in the case of Julian, it was very important for him to try that. And Julian, I think, has clearly demonstrated an incredible talent as a filmmaker.
When I did start to make some films, people in the art world start to think, oh, this guy's a movie director now, and they resent that, or they think that you're not serious about painting, which I think is pretty silly. But you can't really worry about that. You just do what you're going to do, or you don't do it.
I always felt very Italian and very connected to Italy. And I loved it when I lived in Italy and I was broke. I mean, it was amazing that I could go into some of these places, like a pizza place or somewhere, and like they knew I was a painter, so they'd give me free pizza. Or the lady that's working in the laundromat or whatever knows who Caravaggio is, like the same way that people in the middle of America would know who Abraham Lincoln is.
Okay, I'm gonna have them hang all of these other paintings. Okay, vieni con me. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go. Qui io cambi l'altura del.
When Julian became what seemed like an overnight success in the early 80s, and people would say, oh, Julian, I mean, he's so full of himself, he's so arrogant, and where does that come from? And I would always say, well, he was always that way. I mean, long before he had been successful, when it came to his art, he had tremendous confidence and, in a sense, self-worth.
Julian speaks his mind. Julian doesn't hold anything back. If he goes in and he doesn't like something, most things he doesn't, most art shows he does not like. He doesn't say, this isn't art, this is blah, 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 blah. And he just says it.
I mean, anybody that's an artist that is going to make believe that they don't like their work or that they're so modest that, they don't make judgments about other people's work, they're full of shit. Questo due?
There's a real duality to Julian. There's tremendous finesse, and there's almost, it's like he's beating it with a bat. He can be kind of poetic at one time, and he can sound like a longshoreman in the next breath. And all these different kind of contradictory qualities is what makes him such a very rich and interesting artist.
Did you write the heights on these ones? Where?
Behind the painting.
I lived in Brooklyn in a very ordinary house, and the ceilings weren't particularly tall. My parents didn't have any art in the house, other than maybe a pastel portrait that an artist did of my mother in Florida. I needed to invent another kind of reality for myself that I was more comfortable in. We moved to the Mexican border, which was pretty interesting because at that time I came into contact with Mexican culture, and that had a big influence on me. The architecture, the jungle, just the fact that it was foreign was interesting to me. Being around people that didn't speak the same language was good. Fragile. Ok, so con quello mettere I guanti, si posso. Ok? Grazie mille. E quando è finire con quello, parlare con Werner, e possiamo fare altre cose. Because you have to keep people busy doing stuff all the time or doesn't get done. Certo, gente va a sentare qui, no? Adesso. Let's make it like this. Things are moving along. They raised all of the heights in this room. I changed the painting on the end wall. All these paintings came up. I'm taking a picture out of the big room. I just think that there was just too much stuff in here. And now the whole place will, make more sense.
People lay out the show on paper at first, so they decide by the size of the painting on which wall it's gonna go, but then when the painting hangs on the wall, it doesn't feel happy. Julian likes to say the painting isn't happy there, so he pictures a different location for it, and then we'll just have to switch paintings around, and the plan is out the window.
Yeah, that was good. All the way up on the corner.
You want
I try to go to these exhibitions because sometimes I feel like people that don't do it are pretty arrogant. They think their work's so great that they don't have to fiddle with it when they're installing it. But I kind of feel like while I still can do it, it makes a big difference. Or you call me on my phone, okay? My daughter said that she couldn't believe how confident I was, or she saw the mess or the complication of installing such a vast amount of stuff. Let it down. That's good. But the fact is that I've done this before. I know the paintings well. I've walked the space before. Knew where things would go. There was always going to be a couple of variables.
Okay. So what are you going to do? Keep
It's
pulling?
just that it seems like a massive amount of work to accomplish in a short period of time. But I've had many museum shows. Once you've done that a bunch of times, it's not so daunting.
Okay. Hi, darling.
Julian is a family person. He's always surrounded by brothers, sisters, children, his wife. So he's a very, I must say, warm personality who tries to keep them all around and to hold them together.
We met in Paris in '86 in a Vietnamese restaurant.
I just sat next to her at a dinner. I didn't hardly talk to her.
I keep bumping into Julian over the years.
And I kind of wanted to be friends with her, but you know, what kind of friends could we be? I mean, I didn't really speak Spanish that well at that time. I mean, my French is it stinks, but I spoke French with her.
I didn't speak English at the time, and he spoke very little French, and our conversations were completely surreal.
We'd been talking, and she said that I could use her house where she lived with her boyfriend in Ibiza. They weren't going to be there, but she was just trying to be nice, I think. And you know, I went there, and I'm in this house, and I'm like looking at all of this stuff and smelling everything, wondering where she is.
I didn't think we were going to end up together because we became friends and we were talking about everything, and he was telling me about all these different women, and he didn't know what to do, and the promotion was terrible. I mean, if you want to date somebody, you don't talk about 4 other ones, no?
I wrote the word Olats on a piece of material, and I stuck it under the studio on the floor in Montauk, and I thought, what kind of artist am I? I can't even, like, write a word on a piece of material. So after a few days of fighting with myself about that, I took it out and I glued it onto this other canvas, and I made all of these paintings that said Olats on them. And I had never kissed her or anything.
One day, I was living in Paris at the time, and they rang my bell, and there was this big truck with huge painting. Then he sent me.
The painting was a way of sort of transgressing writing or speaking or whatever. I mean, she got to live with that for a while, and then we got married, had babies, and we've been married for 11 years. And a fortune teller told her that some guy was going to send her some kind of big gift, and that guy she was going to marry him. And I think she tried to avoid me for a long time, but we were sort of meant to be together. The pictures kind of leave me speechless. What's so extraordinary is, I mean, when you look at this guy's stomach, you get to see the way that the skin of the painting is the skin of the subject also. This is probably, in fact, this is sort of like the beginning of cinema, these paintings. Also because, I mean, these are really the first pictures where they're real people that are the characters, not idealized people. Also, all these paintings are painted on a really dark ground where he's just painting in the light. I think that what Caravaggio was doing is believing whatever the light was telling him. This is a great picture. I mean, to walk into this room, I was starting to think, well, how come, They hang my paintings in that other building. They could have hung them with a little bit more respect. I mean, I'm kidding. Just the opportunity to walk into a room like that and discover these 3 pictures is like spectacular. I mean, to see these 3 paintings in this room is nuts. In this particular room, what's really interesting to see is all these paintings are essentially brown or umber, and there's just a little bit of red and black in each moment of them. And if you look at them, say, without the figures actually being in them, you see these kind of abstract configurations, like the way that this red is kind of wraps around. There's a little bit of Naples yellow where the baby is in the middle. But that's why people should come to Italy, you know, to see these pictures in the flesh. Because I don't think you can reproduce this stuff in a book. I mean, you can have like a recollection of it or an image of it, but you can't get the same feeling from like standing right in front. You won't see the same thing.
We'll have a whole bunch of men busy this morning trying to get everything up on the wall and ready by tomorrow, hopefully. Right now we have a sculpture that's coming from Switzerland. It's called Ahab, like the old captain. As you can see, there's a big crate in the back of this truck. It weighs about 1.5 tons, and we are facing to try to get it into the yard, which is where we're going to erect it.
Julian's big opera to me. Julian has a drive and a search for knowledge, a search for... He's full of passion about art, about everything.
Well, I'm surprised how entertaining I can be sometimes and how jovial. Buongiorno, mamma. I like to have fun. I mean, I want to have fun.
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
And, I think it's great to be able to laugh. One of the things I love about Olaz's family is they love to laugh. They are laughing all the time. I think that Spanish people in particular like to laugh. There's so much more fun to hang around with. I mean, if I remember the family gatherings in my family, my aunts and uncles and all them, I mean, that wasn't fun at all. They weren't funny. They were miserable. My father wasn't. I think they resented my father because he was having so much fun.
Buongiorno.
Andiamo al mostro Altramare, Saberio, per favore.
Va bene, subito.
Grazie.
Andiamo.
Well, I see stuff everywhere. I look at things like anybody, and they affect the paintings I make. This is a nice pinkish red color, no? I mean, it's sort of my job to keep my eyes open and point. And I mean, I think that's what artists do, basically. My expression is not really about me or my name. I don't even sign my paintings until people ask me to. So if they ask me to, I'll sign them. But in general, I figure if you look at them, nobody would be stupid enough to make paintings that look like that except me. I'm sure if some of my critics will see this, they'll go, that's true. How are you? Paolo? Buongiorno. Come va? Buongiorno, come va? Tutto bene? Ah! Wow! Ah! This is called Ahab, this sculpture. You know, like Ahab from Moby Dick. Okay. What this is this is bronze. I like the idea that in a sculpture that things could be painted and you could have the color on it, no? It goes like, okay? Like that. And then this will be in the front, okay? It'll be done by tomorrow morning.
Julian was always concerned with subject matter that's beyond that of our ordinary lived experience. Whether he was turning to his own dreams, his own fantasies, his own fears, he was looking for answers to the big questions.
Sometimes I'd be dreaming, wake up in the morning, think I saw somebody else's show, and then I go, no, I guess I didn't. So I got to make the stuff after seeing it in my dream. Happens to my daughter Lola. Lola now dreams of stuff and she tells me about it, and then I just have to make the things based on her dreams, which is very handy.
The plate paintings were Julian's entree into the art world in the late 1970s.
This is the first plate painting, The Patients and the Doctors. I was in Barcelona, staying in this crummy hotel room that had a closet that was the size of this painting. I'd been to the Gaudi Park Güell, where he had a bunch of mosaics in the kind of playground. Thought I'd take these plates that were white and cover the closet in my room and see what happens. I mean, basically, I just wanted to make a painting that I hadn't seen before. It was interesting to kind of try to cover this thing, place these, the plates around like they were smeared or broken randomly.
They were a new way of enhancing the meaning of representational art. Now seeing a figure meshed in and integrated with the crockery made you look at the figure in a new way.
You can see the line that goes through his work, how he learns to use the accident, how he makes it work for him, how he creates out of the things that he sees in the world, the materials that he draws in.
He paints every day, and he talks about painting all the time. I never met an artist beside him who was so intense in the discussion about what is painting about, what should it be, what could it be, what was it in the past. You know, he was a shooting star in the 80s, and then it went down when the critic was very difficult for him. And in this time, in my mind, he made some of his most beautiful and most strong works.
When you are, in a sense, the tree by which all others are measured, the easiest way to measure a tree is after it has fallen. And so the art world was constantly trying to figure out, I'd say pretty much after the first show, how to chop that tree down. But Julian, in some ways, no, he got some kind of strange strength from that. It would push him even sort of farther.
You know, I don't know what it is that makes somebody go to the extremes that they do in order to make a piece of art, or what they think they're doing. Like I glued that piece of material or stuck it on there and thought, okay, so why do I think that looks good, or why do I think that has meaning? I guess I had no interest in copying myself or in making a painting to look like the last one so somebody would know what my style was.
There are times when he is just spot on, brilliant, concise, with such a kind of tremendous sense of what paint can do, a real command of his materials. There's other times it's just over the top.
You wonder, what the hell am I doing, or why am I doing these kinds of things? And somehow, in the stupidity of all that, you really find your rhythm. with paintings, I think you want to just kind of be unendingly surprised and not care if you don't really understand, because it's sort of designed so you can't really comprehend it. But I don't think the author can either. They're just looking at this thing and they're amazed at the way the materials go together.
The art world in some ways is more comfortable with less ambition and a kind of modesty in what you can do than they are with these kind of Herculean ambitions. And yet, I think he is underrated because I think at his very best, he is astonishing.
I like very much especially the atmosphere of this place.
I really like the way he uses the fabrics in his work and the way he's composing the whole work, and I really wonder how he did it.
Tutto mi quadri è come un spazio, una contraddizione, no? Della cosa, dell'oggetto e las cosas, la cose como pictoriale.
The coincidence is part of the painting, you know? You have something like water, or I don't know what happened with it, but it is as much important as the paint itself.
I like this very much. And he changed, like the world changed. So it's a mirror of our contemporary world.
My first impression, laying an eye on his work, is, man, this is a person who really does know how to paint. That's what I think. On closer inspection, I must say, he does know how to paint.
That I grew up with all my life. I mean, I used to sleep in front of that painting. I was always staring at that. It kind of freaked me out.
Bravo, bravo.
Nice to meet you. Hello.
Ma devo dire che la mostra è bellissima.
Io tengo molto come illusione di fare una mostra in Italia. Questo è una cosa che io voglio fare come 30 anni fa, ma io ho bisogno di 30 anni per fare tutti i quadri per la mostra. Grazie per il suo entusiasmo del mio lavoro.
I like what I'm doing. They're paintings that I feel like painting, and they're sculptures that I'm working on, and I've been writing some things, and there's some films that I want to make, and I'd like to keep doing more of the same.
For me, first and foremost, is to make a beautiful picture. But if it's just purely aesthetic experience, it's not good enough. That beauty needs to be undercut with this kind of undercurrent of something psychological or dangerous or something desirous or fearful. Ultimately, I want it to all become one world upon itself.
I think Gregory is a very important figure within the history of photography. I think he has shifted the language of photography significantly in the past decade.
Pharrell Williams here.
Hi, I'm Joy Bryant.
I'm Eric Ripper.
I'm Tom Colicchio.
I'm Dr. Frank Lipman, the host of On the Table.
The host of Across the Board.
Host of Artist Talk.
Host of Hooked Up.
Host of the show Be Well Week, Be Well Weekend on the Reserve channel.
It's only on Reserve.
Did you know that you can follow my show on social media sites like Facebook?
Follow us on Twitter.
If you're a fan of my show, hit the like button.
All of the above.
Share me with your friends.
Treat yourself. Check out a new episode of my show, Hooked Up.
And if you want to leave comments, feedbacks, ideas, whatever, love to hear from you. Leave a comment.
And if you don't want to miss the show, be sure to subscribe.
The one that's like down here, or is it here? Somewhere down here.
Thanks for watching the Reserve channel.
Only on YouTube. Throw caution to the wind and ask yourself what rules.
Good music.